Thank you.
We have a very special speaker with us tonight. Jelmer Bardul and his wife Rebecca are here. They are from Eindhoven, the Netherlands, and they are in town visiting family and friends, and we were so blessed to be able to meet with them earlier today, and they're one of the newer couples that we are helping to support in our missions work. And so I encourage you all, when this is over tonight, to surround them, get to know them a little bit better. They're a fantastic young couple, and we are really looking forward to working with them further. Jelmer, it's all yours.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here with you all this evening. My name is Jelmer Bardul. I'm here together with my wife, Rebecca. And I'm going to show and share a few things about what life looks like, what our work looks like in the Netherlands area. So we're thankful for the eldership and for the missions committee to be able to meet with a few of them right before this and to have a few conversations with them. Thankful for the opportunity that I have to share a few things with you guys as well. So to get to know me for a few minutes, my name is Jelmer. You can see it on the screen. You might think, well, the first name is kind of misspelled. It says a J. Why should it not be a Y? Well, in the Netherlands, you pronounce the J as a Y. So it's not Jelmer, it's actually Jelmer. But if you call me that, that's fine too. So I am born and raised in the Netherlands. I've lived there for the first about 19 years of my life. I'm the youngest of 4 brothers. Here you can see a map with the Netherlands, with Belgium, France, and Germany as well. We got the Dutch flag up there as well, the red, white, and blue. Here's a picture of my mom and my 3 older brothers. From left to right, it's Gijs, me, my mom, and then Thomas and Steph. You might recognize Gijs. He's also being supported by this church here as well, and does some mission work in the Netherlands and Belgium area too. I've grown up in the Eindhoven Church of Christ, and I think you all know who this is, our wonderful sister Lucinda that attends church with us in Eindhoven. And growing up, I've grown up with her. I think she might even remember me as a small little baby being born. And yeah, we attend the Eindhoven Church of Christ. My mom is the one who actually brought me into the church. She grew up Catholic just like my dad, but they both didn't really do much with their faith. And she obeyed the gospel and brought me and my 3 older brothers to church every Sunday. And that's how I came to know God and Christ as well. And I was converted. I became a Christian when I was 14 years old. Then for Rebecca, she is from Lubbock, Texas, grew up in Purcell, Oklahoma. Here's just a map. I think we all know where that is at. This is her family. She's got 1 younger brother and then her mom and dad. Her parents have been involved a lot in church as well. Her dad is a preacher and evangelist, and she became a Christian, Rebecca, when she was 19 years old. And she went to Oklahoma State for university as well. So go Pokes. I hope that's the right thing to say here. Here you can see it. Go Pokes again. So how we met is that Rebecca was going to college, studying for a bachelor's in psychology. And I was studying at the time in the Netherlands. And I thought I want to kind of do an adventure, but also be around more Christians. At that time, I only had a few people my age in church that were Christians as well. So I kind of had a few people around me, but I kind of felt lonely. It's quite different than looking at the crowd here on a Sunday evening, how many young people here are here today. So I asked Lucinda, do you know any places I could go to in the U.S. to go to school or do an internship at a company? And she gave me a few places, and I got in contact with several of them, and Oklahoma State was one that reached back out to me and said, well, we'd love to have you over. So I went to Oklahoma State for an internship in my chemistry degree, and I went to church there, the Church of Christ in Stillwater, and that's where I met Rebecca, and we started dating, and we did some long distance for a while, and then in May of 2020, we got married during COVID, so that was a lot of crazy times in general, but also for us, starting our marriage together, of course. From that time on as well, I wanted to do some more evangelistic training. Like I mentioned, growing up in the Netherlands, I didn't have many Christians around me, and I thought, well, in 10, 20, 30, 40 years, then it's our generations that people will look to, and what will be left over, that is, if some people decide to not be involved in church or decide to move off, and what can I do if I'm not equipped to do a Bible study or be engaged in church? So I thought, I want to learn how to do that. So I did some, I call it evangelistic training. I worked with different preachers, different evangelists, and they really helped me get some basics in of what it looks like to do a Bible study, what it looks like to preach the gospel, to give lessons and things like that. So I did that for about 2 years. And Rebecca was in the meantime doing her master's in counseling. She went to Colorado Christian University. And then, I guess at this point, it's been about 2.5 years since we moved back. For me moving back, for Rebecca moving across the pond to Belgium. We just live a few minutes from the border of the Netherlands. And that's where we attend church as well. So here's a picture of us that we recently took in the Eindhoven area. And like I mentioned, we just moved from Oklahoma to Belgium. So we live there right now, and I started off with a full-time job. Now I work 4 days a week for an engineering company, and I've got 1 day to do church work, and also my free time in the evenings as well, to focus on different things. And we'll go through that in a few seconds. Rebecca has now started her own counseling practice to be able to counsel people in their mental health. And she also works with a psychologist that she got to know in the Eindhoven area as well, and around that is active in doing different things for the church as well. So we work, we call it the Benelux area. That's Belgium, Netherlands, and Luxembourg. Really not so much Luxembourg. But we attend the church in Eindhoven. Here's one picture of us as well with a few members of us, some youth, some older people there as well. And also my brother that I mentioned, Gijs, and his wife Arine. They are doing mission work in the same area in the Netherlands and Belgium as well. They're working with the Church of Christ in Antwerp, and they are focusing there while we focus the majority of our time in Eindhoven. There's of course some overlap in our work as well. There's some events that they will organize, events that we organize together with them as well. But our work is in some way kind of two different mission fields. So our focus of our mission, like I mentioned, is mainly the Church of Christ in Eindhoven. And that's where we have kind of 4 main categories, if you would say so, that we focus on. We've got evangelism, discipleship, leadership, and cultivating unity, mainly focusing on fellowship. So for evangelism, I think we can all kind of think of what that looks like is to share the gospel to other people, to try and see what their interest is in church. And for us as individuals, but also for the church as a whole, we want to be a church that cultivates that characteristic as well, that when people open or come into the doors, that they see that they are welcome there, that we're also Bible-based, trying to make disciples in a good principle. And while people come in, that we also help them grow in their life as Christians as well. And that kind of falls into the next point, which is discipleship. As we just read Ephesians chapter 4, verse 11 through 16, it talks about being mature in your faith and having the fullness of God within you. And that's really what we try and focus on as well, that when people obey the gospel, that we don't leave them hanging high and dry, but also that they are able to learn what it means to be a Christian, how Christianity should really be the core of your life. Every decision that you make, whether it's just you showing up at work and doing the things that you're asked to do, all these different aspects of your life, that you're following what the Bible prescribes for us of how we should live our life. That also comes down to leadership, of how God has set a certain structure in place for how a church functions, and following those biblical models as well of what that leadership looks like, and striving towards that. The church in Eindhoven currently doesn't have elders, but that's something that we strive to seek forth in the future to get towards. Also cultivating unity and fellowship. The church itself has about 50 members in total, 40 to 60 you'll see about on a Sunday morning, so it's much different than even the crowd we have tonight. But we have over 10 or even closer to 13 different nationalities. So that's people from the US, people from countries in South Africa, or in South America, in Africa, and in Asia as well. So we have lots of different languages, different cultures, and that's a great blessing to have, but sometimes also a challenge because we have so many different backgrounds, and what their customs of living is, what their life looks like at their home country can be vastly different than what it looks like in the Netherlands. So something that we focus on as well is getting to know each other better and the cultures that are behind the people that we see day to day. So here we see just the logo of our church and a few people from our congregation as well. besides working specifically with Eindhoven, we also try to have a broader focus in our work as well. So we focus on basically the Netherlands and Belgium, where we try and encourage other congregations. Occasionally, I will preach at different congregations, different churches of Christ as well, and get to know the congregation there as well and see how we can form better and closer connections. It's a lot of times interesting talking about the distances in the Netherlands and Belgium, now having lived here for a few years. Many times people will drive for 30 minutes, and that's about as far as they will want to go, to drive 30 minutes to go to school, go to work, or go to church. But the distances there feel a lot different. There, an hour-and-a-half drive feels like you're driving for 3 or 4 hours. So it's sometimes a challenge to bridge the gap between distances between different churches, because most churches, if you want to visit another one, it's at least an hour, hour and a half. And for you guys, you might say, oh, an hour and a half, that's not that much. That's just here and there and back, and that's it. But for the Netherlands, for Belgium, they really have to think about how long that will actually be, and they might need to make an extra pit stop for that extra hour and a half that they have. And that's sometimes just a challenge to try and overcome, of how can we bridge the gap, bridge the distance to bring people and bring churches closer together. But we try to do that by organizing different types of events to build up their faith, and whether that's just for one church specifically, or churches in an area, or for all the churches of Christ in the Netherlands and Belgium, to invite them all together, to have some fellowship, to have some teaching as well. And then we also try to focus on our youth. We have this Bible camp facility, as you see in the picture in the top right. It's called the Ardennen Bible Camp. Ardennen is just an area in Belgium, a quite mountainous area, where we have yearly summer camps that Rebecca and we have organized a few of them, and Lucinda has helped with that as well, and some other ones as well, different age groups, age 8 through 11, 12 to 14, and 15 and up, that we have throughout the summers, and we have throughout the spring and the fall and the winter as well, different events. And then also churches itself that will organize different things, and we try to be just a part of that, or organize a few things here and there as well. Now, there's also been lots of great things, and the way we've tried to phrase it as in growth and praises, this is not to say that this is anything that I myself or Rebecca has done, but this is just things that we've gotten to be blessed with and experience in the work that we do and the work that we see around us being done as well. So one of the things is what we notice that there's a younger generation now coming up, age 20s and 30s, that are becoming more interested in God, more interested in faith and Christianity. And the older generations, we haven't seen quite as much from that, but this younger generation, we've seen a lot more visitors coming to church, people reaching out and asking questions. And also in general, the youth works have been a great blessing for us. As I just mentioned a few things about the things that are going on in the summer camps, we've had a lot more younger people as well showing up to the camps. You see the picture in the top left where we had a group this year of about 25 kids. A few years ago, we might have only had 10 or 15. So it's been kind of up and down, but I think generally we'll see more youth participating in these different types of events as well. And that's just a great thing to see, that the youth is growing in that sense, and I think that also sets a precedence for the future, where if this youth continues to grow up and stay involved and active in church, where we have an older generation in the next several years, where we have more people involved as well. Within the local church, specifically in Eindhoven, we've had many visitors reaching out through the website and through social media, where we've had at least 15 to 20 people that have shown up to church with no church background at all. They are not just family visiting, but just people who decided, you know what, I want to go to church, and let me just type in something about church or about God, and they found our website and they decided to come visit the church in Eindhoven. And it's been a great blessing for them to show up and being able to connect with them a little bit as well. Then you see this second dot. It says Grote Familiedag. It might be a little bit hard for you guys to read as it is in Dutch, but it's just called the Big Family Day. That's a yearly event that one of the churches will organize. We'll kind of pass on who organizes it, and this year Eindhoven was one of the ones to organize it, and that's where we invite all the churches of Christ in the Netherlands and Belgium to come to the Bible camp facility that we have and have a great day of fellowship. And also have some service where we sing songs, we have a prayer, we have a teaching and encouragement. And that was a great way for the church to serve our other congregations in the area, where we and to think about how to serve them, how to get the camp ready, what food we would serve, and to do things like that. Within the church in Eindhoven, we've also tried to focus on different trainings or leadership deals. And you see here the worship leader workshop and the teacher training. We've tried to go back to a few of those basics of what it means to worship God. Why do we worship God? Why do we even get together on the Sunday morning? And start with that question with specifically our men. And then ask the question, what does it mean for us or for you to stand here in front of the pulpit and to lead a prayer, to lead the songs, to give a teaching? What's the importance of that? Why do we do that? How can we praise God through that? How can we as a church be built up or edified through that? And that's been a good way for some of the male members to step up and to learn how to serve through this platform as well. And we've also had plans to do some sort of teacher training where the men who are currently teaching can learn from one another on how to build a lesson, how to grow in their faith, grow in their teaching capabilities as well. And besides that, in general, we've also done some more studies on leadership, of what it means to have an eldership. As I mentioned, this church hasn't had an eldership before, but we can at least look at what the biblical principle is of how decisions are made, what eldership looks like, and learn from that and try and set a foundation for the future in that. And then we've also had some other things going on, like a women's Bible study, and trying to do some monthly events as well to create more unity and to have more fellowship with one another. And those are great things that we've had. Some challenges and prayer requests, some things that we are dealing with being in the Netherlands, living in Belgium, to talk for a little bit about Christianity in the Netherlands. About 30% of the population of 18 million people would call themselves a Christian, but about 20% of that is Catholic. And many of the Catholics are not quite engaged very much. They are in some way cultural Catholics, so they've grown up going to a Catholic church, or they might say, well, my grandma used to go to a church, and that's really the connection that's there. But there's not much practicing of faith within this group besides that 10% that would call themselves Christian and actually is practicing that as well. On the flip side of that then is that it's 50 to 60% of the population doesn't believe in God. Either they're atheist or they're agnostic, and they say there is no God or I don't believe there is a God. And that's what we run into a lot. Growing up, going to elementary school, middle school, and high school, and even college, I, as far as I knew, was the only Christian in my age group. And that's in some way very lonely to be a Christian there, where you don't have other people that even believe in God. It might not even be the same beliefs that we have about God and how we worship and how to read our Bibles and things like that. But there are not many people who are Christian. And it's similar in Belgium, but in Belgium it seems like it's a bit rising more than the Netherlands, where, like I mentioned, the younger generation is becoming more engaged, more interested in Christianity. But there's also people that are turning to Catholicism or to the Islam. So there's a general sense of growing of spirituality, seeking a place of hope, but people might not quite know where to find that exactly. So they're looking in Christianity, in Catholicism, or in Islam, or in different areas as well. As I mentioned, we've had many people showing up to our church this past few years, and it's been a great blessing. But we can also use your prayers for that, for the people that are coming in, that we as a church are able to disciple to them as well. It's great that they're coming to church, but we also want to be able to serve them in a good way as well. That if they're interested in a Bible study, that we have enough people who are equipped to do a Bible study with them, to preach the gospel to them, to show them what it means to be a Christian, what that looks like, on how you make decisions in your life that reflect a Christian way of living. So that means that also we want to try and focus on equipping other people to do those things, and that's what we can use your prayers definitely for as well. We have got several people who are able to do Bible studies one-to-one, but we can use more of that as well. And we try and train other people through that. We've also had many different refugees. We've had people from Ukraine with the war, with Russia, but also people from the Middle East area that are fleeing their country, whether it's just because of war or Christian persecution as well. We've dealt with people like that as well, who are fleeing their country because they're Christian in the Middle East and they are not safe there. And they've fled to the Netherlands, and they are currently staying, 2 or 3 families are staying in the church building. So 2 of our Bible class our kids' classes we've opened up for them to stay in, and also a family that's staying upstairs in our building in one of the apartments. It's great to have them there, but it's also difficult for them to leave their home, obviously, and to try and pick up their life from nothing. They have not much to rely on. The government gives them some money and we give them a place to live, but it's a long process for them to be able to work or to find another place. They're trying to figure out if they can stay there or move back. So praying for those families, but also for the church to be able to serve them and continue to serve them as well, would be greatly appreciated. Then for us personally, Rebecca and I, we live in a house in Belgium, and we would like to be closer to the Eindhoven area. It's about a 35-minute drive, and just as I mentioned, you might think, well, 35 minutes, that's not a lot. But if you do it every day in the Netherlands, it can get a bit exhausting. So we want to live closer to our church community, be closer to the church in Eindhoven, and be closer to that community. Also trying to balance our jobs, as I work 4 days a week for an engineering company. Rebecca has her counseling practice and works with another psychologist. We try and find a good balance of being able to do church work and free up time for that as well. There's also several things more specifically that you can pray for as well. One of the first ones that I want to mention is Brooke Landis. She is planning to visit the Eindhoven area for a few months, and she is also interested in being able to do the hymn program as well, to help the church and support the church in Eindhoven as well and serve there as a missionary. And we're trying to figure out how she can stay there long term, but for now she's at least coming for a few months. So you can definitely pray for her and for the church to try and figure out how we can get her to come for a longer time as well. We also have this thing, Ignite, that my brother and sister-in-law are organizing, and we're helping with that as well. And that's an event for ages 12 through 28 for all Christians of the Church of Christ in all throughout Europe. And that's something that my brother and sister-in-law are organizing, and they've done this now for the last few years. And it's a great way to bring youth together and for them to know that they're not alone. Even though they might go to school, they might go to college, and they're the only Christian there, they can build connections with other Christians in and throughout Europe. That's people coming from the UK, from Eastern Europe, south of Europe, also the Netherlands, Belgium, Germany, different areas there. And they can build connections, build friendships that are lasting, and also have some encouragement through Bible teaching too. An idea that Rebecca and I have had is also to focus on families by trying to organize a marriage workshop as well, and to show with other couples that are experienced what it looks like in your marriage to follow God, what the biblical roles are of husbands and of wives, and how to grow up in that as well. So here are some things that you could pray for us and for just in general the situations in the Netherlands and Belgium. So some things that we try to follow from a biblical pattern. Of course, one of the main things to focus on is Matthew 28, verse 19 through 20, is a gospel-centered approach. We can try and run around and do all of these things and that we feel like important, but it all comes down to making disciples, to go out and preach the gospel, to save the lost that are seeking and bring them to God and show them what God has to offer to them to have salvation. So that's one of the principles that we try to focus on through our evangelism, to try and meet people where they're at. We also try and equip others to teach and to serve. In 2 Timothy chapter 2, Paul writes to Timothy and he says, "As I have taught you these things, now you go out and teach others to teach them too." And that's something that we try to do. For us personally, Rebecca and I, when we look at the things that we do, we are just mere workers, just like anyone else in the congregation is. And it's not us who is doing these great things or causing change. What we try and set in place is that we try to equip other people, and other people are equipping us in other areas as well. So that it doesn't just fall on one or two people. It doesn't just fall on 3 or 4 people, but the whole congregation is becoming more equipped to serve in many different ways, whether that's leading a Bible study, grabbing a cup of coffee with someone, opening up your home. Those are all different areas in which a church functions together throughout fellowship. In Ephesians chapter 4 is what we read earlier through the scripture reading. It's growing up towards spiritual maturity. That's also something that we value a lot as well. It's great that people are coming into the doors and they hear the gospel and they obey it. But Matthew 28 also mentions to teach them the commandments that Jesus given to all of us. And that's what we see in Ephesians chapter 4 as well, to become mature in your faith, to be equipped as a saint by other people. So that's what we try and focus within the church and other churches as well, as how can this church become more equipped to serve one another? How can I become more equipped to help the community that's around me? I know people that you might not know, and you might know people that I don't know, but I can serve them in one way or another. But how do I do this? And that comes also down to stirring each other up in love and good works, like Hebrews chapter 10 talks about. That we encourage one another, that we don't dread each other, but that we're able to edify one another through love, that we encourage one another to do good works, and that ultimately also cultivates a community where there's unity and there's fellowship, where we try and organize events to bring people together. As I mentioned, the church in Eindhoven has 10 to 13 different nationalities. There's a lot of different cultures, a lot of different customs. How can we learn from one another? One person might do something at church one way, someone else might do it another way. And it doesn't mean that just because they're different that both of them are wrong or one or another is wrong. It's just a custom. But how can we learn from one another where that's coming from? Another thing that we try to focus in our ministry as well is that we try to strengthen the homes and through that strengthen the churches. We want to focus on father-led homes, which can ultimately lead to elder-led congregations. We want to focus on godly marriages and active discipleship from parents to children, where the parents are involved in the teaching and the raising of their children, where the church supports that. And this last phrase, where we want to have an inward focus on growing the church, which helps an outward focus, that we have people equipped to do Bible studies, to share the gospel, so that whenever people do come in, that we're able to serve them accordingly to their needs. So I'm sure that's a lot of information for you to consider. Rebecca and I want to personally thank you for this opportunity that we have to be with you here this evening, to share a little bit about who we are, the work that we're doing, the work that's going on in the church in Eindhoven by many other people. I can't say that we're the only ones. We've got Lucinda here as well. She does a lot of work as well. She really is the glue within the congregation, and we, I think, also need to personally thank her for everything that she has been doing all those years in Eindhoven as well. So you might sit there and you might think, okay, I want to help, but how can I help? Well, one thing, of course, you can do is to pray for the work that's going on in these areas, pray for the people that don't know God yet, who are searching, who are looking for purpose in their life, that they might find it through the church. We have a newsletter that we send out quarterly or yearly as well. If you're interested in having that, then you can come to us or reach out to, I think, probably the missions committee who might receive the emails. Also, another point is giving. We're not asking specifically for financial means, but we know that this church supports many different missionaries all across the globe, not just in the Netherlands, not just in Belgium, but all across the whole world. And this is one way where you can help the mission work that's going on, furthering the gospel in all the different areas in which North MacArthur Church of Christ is supporting different types of missionaries, to fund them financially in order to do the work. But that's also for you a personal calling to be active in your ministry. Because you might think and sit here, well, those are those people who are going out, they move to a new country and they're doing ministry, and that's what they're doing. But that doesn't mean that there's no ministry within you, because you have a ministry as well. And that's what I want to focus on for the last few minutes as well. Some encouragement for you this evening as well, is that we are all called to be ministering to one another. And that will look different from person to person. But you can ask the question yourself is, what does my personal ministry look like? What is it that I am doing? What is it that I could be doing in order to help the gospel, in order to help grow the church? And that might be different things. That might be focusing on evangelism, going out into your community, the people that you go to school with, the people that you work with. How can you meet them where they are at? Maybe that's asking questions. Do you believe in God? Have you ever gone to church? Do you know who Jesus is? Building a connection with them. That might be opening up your home to invite people to come to your house and share a meal together. It might be giving in many different ways, your time, the resources that you have, opening up your home. It might be in teaching. Maybe you have a talent of teaching, and that might not be necessarily standing here and preaching and teaching behind the pulpit, but maybe that's just one-on-one Bible studies, reading some scripture with someone else and asking them questions, letting them ask questions to you, and opening the Word together and see what the Bible has to say about that. It's about being present, whether that's on a Wednesday evening, a Sunday morning, a Sunday night, different types of fellowship events. The fact that you are sitting here tonight is a ministry, that you are active, that you're choosing to be here, to be with your brothers and sisters. That's a type of ministry as well. Because the truth is, we all struggle from time to time. And I'm sure there's people who are sitting here tonight who have something heavy laying on them. And they might go to you after the service is over. Maybe they've gone to you this morning to you and said, well, this is what's going on in my life. But the fact that you are there, the fact that you are here, gives them that opportunity to come to you. So being present is very important. So the growth of a church, the growth within you, starts with the discipleship within yourself. If you want this church to continue to grow, it means that you must grow as well. And it means that you have a calling. It's not just the elders, it's not just the deacons, it's not just the missions committee. You are called yourself. You might not have a designated role within this church or outside of this church, but you have a role. You are called to be active in your faith, to be active in your personal ministry. We can think about Matthew chapter 25, where 3 people were given different amounts of talents, this value of money that they had. One was given 5, one of them was given 2, and one of them was given 1. And it doesn't matter how much you are given tonight to deal with, but you're dealt something. You've got some talent, and God is asking you, what are you doing with it? Are you like the person with 5 or 2 talents, doubling it, putting it to good use? Or are you tensing up, not knowing what to do? Let me just bury it, so at least I'm not getting rid of it, but I'm also not growing it. And that's the point tonight, that you have a personal ministry. There's things that you can do. There's probably things you are already doing, and I want to encourage you to think about what you are doing and do more of that. Think about the areas of your life where you want to grow in. Seek how you can grow in those areas. And I'm sure there's people in this congregation who can help you grow in that as well if you want to do so, but you don't know how. I recently gave a lesson on that the small things matter, and Zechariah talks about that the small increments of things can build to something larger. Oftentimes you think, yes, I want to grow. I want to read my Bible this whole year, every day, 5 chapters every day. And that sounds great. That's a great goal to have. But how many of us have started that plan, and after 1 week, or we're doing great, after 2 weeks, well, I missed 1 day, I'll catch up. And after 2 or 3 months, oh, that's right, I tried to do that reading plan, and now I've stopped it. And that's perhaps because we try to do too many things all at once. But the point is, we need to start. However big, however small it might seem, if that's reading 1 verse, 1 paragraph a day, if that means sending 1 message to 1 person in this congregation, ask them, hey, how are you doing? That might not seem like a lot of work, that might not seem like a lot of effort, but the fact that you're trying, the fact that you're doing something, that's the point. That's great. Because if you do that consistently over several months, over several years, think about how many people you might have reached out to. Think about how many verses you might have read. If you read 1 verse a day, if you read 2 verses a day, it might not seem a lot, but it's a start. And then you can apply it to any different area of your life. That's reaching out to someone, trying to learn something. No matter how small or how great it might seem to you, your effort is valuable in that. In John chapter 15, verse 5, it says, I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever abides in me and I in him, he it is that bears much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing. When we think about our lives as Christians, we of course know that Jesus, he is the vine and we are just the branches. And that means that we are close to Jesus, but just being close to Jesus isn't the end goal, that we just have a connection with him. Here it mentions that we must bear fruit. That means that we are pruned from time to time, that we go through challenges, we go through hardships. Why? In order to grow. That's the point. And it doesn't matter how great or how small it might seem to you. You might be looking at other people and say, well, look at everything that they're doing. I could never do that. That should not discourage you from doing the things that you can do, the things that you should be doing. Notice lastly what it mentions in 1 Corinthians 3, verse 6. It says, I planted, Apollos watered, but God gave the growth. We might think, what did I learn from the lesson this morning? You might not even remember what you learned or heard this morning or last week. But the fact that something was planted in you, something was watered for you, that means that there's growth within you as well. But it means that day in, day out, you need to invest in yourself. So whether that's you being sent out to go somewhere, you have a specific role within this church, or you don't. The truth is, it doesn't matter. You all have people that you can reach out to. You all have things that you can do to help serve this congregation, to help serve your community. And that's what I want to leave you with tonight as well. And maybe you're thinking, well, I want to do more of that. I don't know how to do that. Or maybe you're thinking, I need to obey the gospel. I've heard the gospel being preached and I need to obey it. Then I want to also give you an opportunity and an invitation that you can obey the gospel tonight. If you're interested in that, if you want to become a child of God and have your sins washed away by the blood of Christ, then you have an opportunity to do so. So I'd like to invite you to come forward while we have a song of invitation.